I don't believe it.
We are live. It's true.
Let me tell you all my personal details.
Okay, yes, please. So, hello everybody. Welcome to MakerCast episode number 7. It's back to my channel, bitlunis'lab again. We made a round, visited so many other channels. I prepared a playlist. You can click on that afterwards in the description below. And let the people introduce themselves. So let's start with Jon Oxer. He's the first time on the MakerCast, and let's go.
Yes, hey, so first time here, which is really cool. My name's Jon. I have a channel called Superhouse TV, which does mostly DIY home automation sort of stuff. I also have a company called Freetronics, and I hack around on both hardware and software. Next.
Next, Brian.
How do I follow that? Hi, I'm Brian Lough. I'm from Ireland. I do not have a company or anything like that. I have a small electronics YouTube channel, and that's pretty much it from me.
Okay. Well,
okay.
Hi, everyone. I'm Seon. I've got a channel called Unexpected Maker. I tinker around with electronics and 3D printing and laser cutting and stuff. And right now I'm a full-time customer support person. and and just manufacturing stuff. And why is Looney poking his finger in my ear? Okay, yeah, that's me.
Okay, so maybe everybody knows me already since this is on my channel, bitlunis'lab, and it's slow this summer. I'm doing electronics and machining. I did a lot of machining lately, and I will talk about this. Maybe I will start just to recap what I did this month and what I plan to do in the near future. And we go then to Seon and follow on. Okay, so so far it has been only one video since the last MakerCast. So at least on the main channel, and this was about the electric scooter, which I have here. So and I upgraded it to the VESC controller, which works nicely. So I have recuperation. I have finally a braking on my scooter, and it works nicely.
So you can stop now as well. That's nice.
Yeah. And what I plan to do is to try. I have another 300 watts panel, and since the motor is 250 watts, I thought maybe I can use this huge panel and mount it on top of the scooter somehow, and you don't use any batteries at all. So, but this is not for the near future. This is just like in a few months. And since then, I've been doing some boards, many boards, 3 boards that I expect soon. One arrived already. So this is a project for the Maker Fair that's coming up. That's a topic that me and Brian will talk about. And that's a 10-player ESP32 console based on these Super Nintendo controllers. And I tested it already. I can program it, but without the controllers being plugged in, since I used the pin 2, and I have to change this. But I can't wait to improve that and update my library ESP32lib to have analog video being output with external resistor ladder to be maybe more precise or whatever. And I'm also creating a new, bigger LED wall, much bigger. So like bigger. So it will be, the old one was 300 ping pong balls. The new one will be 1200, and it's more than 4 times the area. So and since I didn't want to drill all the holes with the drill, since I had my hand was aching for like 2 weeks afterwards, I built something that will be published tomorrow. The video is cut already, but I couldn't export it until now, since it would take like 3 hours and we have to do the MakerCast today, so I will upload it later. And I made this. So,
What?
so what do you think it is?
It's a frame.
Yeah, it's a punch.
Oh,
Hole punch.
Yeah, it's a punch.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
What are you
huge
thinking
punch.
through?
So let me scroll it here. So
What is it punching through?
through 1 millimeter aluminum sheets.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, and it has an LED target crosshairs, and this will help me to do the 1200 holes that I need to punch into the 4 aluminum sheets. So that thing is huge, and I had like 400 gigabytes of video material that I cut down to like 18 minutes of video. So it will be a really long video that it's going to upload for the supporters today night and be published tomorrow in the evening. So that's the next thing that I will do. And I think next week will be a huge LED one. Yeah, it's like that. Exactly, John.
It's a supersized version of this.
Yeah. Okay.
John's does 2 at a time, though, Looney.
Sorry?
John's does 2 at a time. Yours only does 1 at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he can't reach any point in a huge sheet, so just the edge.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. That's why this punch has to be so big, so I can put the whole sheet through. And yeah, that's some heavy metal, and I did a lot of welding, and yeah, did a lot of welding, and I'm finally there where I think that I am able to control the how the welding is functioning. So it will be a cool video, and I hope you tune in tomorrow and watch it then. So that's from me now. Unexpected Maker.
Me. So yeah, I've not really been doing a lot. Like, I'm back into full swing manufacturing of TinyPicos. I've got thousands and thousands I'm making at the moment, plus shields. I got through most of my shields, which is good. I still have just a few Grove connectors to solder on still.
All by hand or what?
All by hand, unfortunately.
Tasty
because I haven't found a
popcorn.
solution. So that's half of them. That's what's left. I've done half, and that's half of them still to go.
Can you do something like a welding wave, or how is it called?
Wave soldering.
Wave soldering, yeah.
So the problem is the pins, once they're, I'll just open one up. The pins are quite, well, they look long, but they're quite short. By the time they sit into the board, let me just get out of the way. You can't really see that.
Oh, yeah.
And so to get the wave soldering close enough to solder these, I get solder on the header pins on the ENIG on the back of the board. So I can't, unfortunately. But
Okay.
I built myself a holder jig, which I think I showed on my stream a couple of weeks ago, that I placed them all into first, and then I can just place the PCB onto it, and then I just sit there and
cool.
soldering away. It actually takes as much time to put them all into the jig as it does to actually solder them now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
But it's pretty good. Look, it's almost there. Yeah, that's been kind of fun. But it's what's been, I guess, I mean, it's not taking up a huge amount of time, but it's been interesting for the last week or so. Now that everyone's received, or pretty much everyone's received their TinyPicos.
Yeah, that's the great news, isn't it?
Sorry?
Yeah, that's the great news that all the TinyPicos have arrived by now, and
yeah, it's
set up your
fantastic.
Discord server and so on. So
yeah, which I avoided for a long time, but the Discord server's up. I can post a link to that for anyone that doesn't know about it. It's just a general unexpected maker. Oh, where do I get my?
yeah, but it seems like a small community is growing there.
You keep talking, so
Yeah, so I'm trying to feed everyone there for the TinyPico support, which has been really handy. But what's been happening though is quite a lot of questions and things have been coming up, things that you don't think about or things that I take for granted. Like I was just speaking to the guys before. An example is that I haven't been clear enough about how the TinyPico attaches to the play shield. For me, I just have done it 100 times and designed it, and so it made sense to me that people would just solder the header pins on as they normally would on the board, and then I put like two white boxes on the back of the play shield to indicate where the antenna and the USB is. But clearly that's not clear enough, because I've had quite a few questions about people and orientation. That Brian's holding one up right now, and so it's amazing like what you take for granted for stuff like that. I've also had a lot of people who have backed the TinyPico, and this is their first ESP32 they've ever used, right? And so, again, a lot of stuff that I take for granted, like so a guy called Tim who brought up on the Discord a couple of days ago about the fact that there's no analog write and there's no tone support on the ESP32, which is something that Espressive say that one day they might add. And we all take that for granted now. If we work with the ESP32, we know that it works differently, but those questions come up, and it's, I guess because I'm designing and selling hardware now, there's a lot more I need to think about than just getting the board out. That the whole, all these unexpected things have popped up, and it's been good. Like Dave Darko mentioned to me the other day that there's no place really on the website that points to the hardware, to the GitHub, like the hardware repository. I've got links in the software coding section, but nothing that was referencing the hardware or the fact that it was open source, that he hadn't even realized that I'd released all the open source files yet. So, I had to quickly scramble back and go and add a whole bunch of stuff onto the website that I didn't put there because I took for granted that people were finding it because people have been designing boards.
I think what you're talking about with all the support burden, that's something that a lot of people don't expect, and it's really, really tough. It's something that I personally have a lot of trouble with because, well, I'm here on a live stream now, but I'm generally fairly antisocial, and and so when you get a lot of support requests, basically you'll end up spending all your time answering the same questions over and over again, and there'll be questions you haven't necessarily thought of. It's when you ship out multiple thousands of a device in a short period of time, the overhead of dealing with that is really overwhelming. I've personally found that's been one of the most difficult things over the years with Freetronics.
Yeah, I just wasn't expecting, it wasn't so much how much that there was, but just things that should have been obvious to me that I feel like I should have thought about before the launch that I didn't. That, it's not that it's tripping me up. Like an example is, I've got on the software and hardware is released as open source, and it's licensed as open source. So the hardware is released under the Seon license. And on the main hardware page for GitHub, for the TinyPico, it talks about the license and also talks about the branding, like using the TinyPico logo and what requirements there are for that. And it seems that no one's really found that page or looked at it or read it. I have to admit, I often go to GitHub and will go and download something without really reading all the specs or anything else. And so people are designing boards at the moment with the TinyPico logo on there, which, they're not really supposed to be doing, but I'm not going to run after anyone with a stick and say, hey, just, stop doing it. But it was just like, it never occurred to me that I'd have to reinforce that more or point people to the license so they understand what the requirements are. Open source doesn't mean free to use any way you want to use it, type. Like there are obligations with open source. Like with CERN, if you use any of the TinyPico design files in your own stuff, your obligation is that you make your things, anything you derive off it, you need to make open source as well, right? That's part of the community. So Brian's got the TinyPico logo on there. Like he spoke to me and he said, hey, can I put the TinyPico logo on there? And I said, sure. I've got people using it.
So it's with the TM trademark thingy in the corner.
Well,
we can see that.
Get that on the PCB, unfortunately. The silk screen's not high res enough, so I don't have the TM on the board. On the website, I do, but the fact is, it's owned by me. It's my brand.
Yeah, sure.
And so for me, it's not about preventing people from using it, but like I want to know what it's being used on.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it also can become a support burden for you. You don't want people to pick up a board sometime down the track and see TinyPico logo on it and think that you made it, and therefore you're responsible for supporting it.
That's right. But like, I've never done this before, so I don't, I mean, I have in terms of other industries, but in terms of hardware, like in the games industry, you make something, you put your brand on it, someone wants to, like, they can't leverage what you've made. They can't suddenly make a game off your game or something, or make an add-on game for your game. But with hardware, it's a very different thing in it. And I don't even know how many people have downloaded the design files and are building stuff for it that they don't tell me about, and they're not obligated to. Anyway, it's been a really big learning curve for me, and it's taken up a lot of my time. And it's been great. And, I've had a kick in the bum from, a few people about stuff that I haven't had ready. I didn't have some good example Arduino code for the Play Shield until a couple of days ago. I just took for granted at what level people would be that would be getting my hardware. You know what I mean? So definitely learned a lot. But yeah, other than that, I'm manufacturing. I've got some new boards coming. Today, unfortunately, didn't make it in time. Stuff to show and I've got some new projects I'm working on. Maybe next MakerCast I'll have a lot more to show.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
Brian?
Yes, hello. Okay, so it's been 2 months since I was at the last MakerCast. I also have released exactly one video.
You haven't been on the last one?
I wasn't on the last one, no.
Oh, okay.
On Liz's one. I can't. Who was it before that? Steve, was it? I think it was Steve. So I released one video where I made 11 different subscriber counters for people. That
was awesome.
Thank you. I'm not going to bother showing.
Your biggest project so far, wasn't it?
It was. It was. So it was funny. At the last MakerCast, it was like 2 days after releasing my Matrix Tetris clock, Tetris Matrix clock, and like my update on that was, this was too big of a project. It just doesn't fit with my like lifestyle or whatever. And then I was like, I'm going to make small projects, and then I had the idea for this thing, and I was like, okay, let's go big on this. So yeah, went big, and it was too big, but anyways, so yeah, it was fun. Interesting things came out of it. A few of the people retweeted it and stuff, and it was pretty interesting. It was a fun video to make. If you didn't see it, there was a special guest who appeared on it too, which was fun as well. I was driving to work. I'll just say who it is, because who cares now? It was
if
Evan
you
Cale.
didn't see it yet, just don't listen.
Don't worry about it. It's still fun. It was Evan Cale. So I was driving to work, and I've spoken to Evan like a couple of times before. Before I did my Bluetooth HID video, I emailed him and asked permission to use some clips of his HID Bluetooth module video. And he said, yeah, sure, no problem. And that was almost the extent of our communication between each other, but just a couple of other small things. And just out of the blue, I just had this idea of, wouldn't it be really funny that if I made a relatively crap subscriber counter for Evan, but I had this joke that he lived in my closet now? And I was driving to work, and I thought this was the funniest thing. And I was like, look, sure, I'll email him. He probably won't want to do it anyways. And he replied back really quickly and was like, yeah, totally, let's do this. And I was like, okay. And he was like, oh, could you send me a script? I was like, script. Of course.
That's cool. That's really, that was really funny.
Yeah, I had to write a script. I had an idea of what the conversation was going to be, but so I had to write a script and send that on to him, and he recorded it in a couple of days, and it was even pinging me. He was like, "Hey, Brian, if you need anything else, just let me know." I was like, "Yeah, still haven't gotten to it yet." Yeah, so I took a week off work to finish that video. Not the week
What?
gone, the week before that. I
Really?
spent a ridiculous amount of time on that video, like ridiculous. I was saying to Seon that like the last two videos, I think I'm swinging too hard when I should be swinging at the ball a little bit more often. Like, as in,
Yeah.
I could have made like 5 videos in the same amount of time. Easy.
Totally can relate with that.
Yeah. So, but you know, whatever. It was fun, and so that was cool. Since the last Makercast as well, I've made a few boards. Don't think the Panda existed at the last Makercast, so that's the Panda board. That is available on Tindy. This one is broken. One of the LEDs is broken, but yeah. So he's pretty cool.
Can you show
and
us the blue subscriber counter?
yes, 1 second.
Yeah, that is looking really good. This is how was the real engineering? No,
Real Engineering.
yeah, real engineering is the channel. Yeah.
Yep. So that's his logo, and so I 3D printed that out, and
Yeah, that looks so good.
Thank you.
With the LEDs, it's looking so much better.
Watch the smoke, blue smoke.
Ooh.
So it's a bit overexposed there, but the LEDs
worries.
are shining off the back.
Oh,
and then
the counter's still working.
it's still working. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
Almost
It
2
didn't break
million.
when we expected it to.
Yeah. So yeah, that was. It's not a pair of legs. It's kind of like a Greek letter, I guess. I don't know what it is though. But yeah, it's. I'm really happy with this one. This is possibly the nicest thing I've ever made. So yeah,
that looks
fun.
really complete.
I had a lot of fun doing the video, but it was just so much work. And then like I tried to edit. The first thing I tried to edit was the clip with Evan, and like the software that I have been using on my channel up to this point could not do it. I suspected I was going to have a problem with just the software I used is not good for like merging clips together and stuff. It's very good at annotating things, but it's not good at merging lots of video clips. So that was fun. So I downloaded. So another part of doing that video was I had to learn how to use Premiere. So yeah, that video was done all in Premiere, and that was my first time ever using Premiere. So
did you use the trial or
I used the trial? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is probably up now, so I probably paid for it. But I've set for the I've
Creative
set for,
Cloud. Complete
yeah, I've set for the
10
monthly.
year.
No, I set it for monthly, so it's expensive.
How much is it monthly?
35 a month, so it's expensive. Yeah. So what else did I make? Another thing that I made, I haven't done anything with or released any videos on is so if you've seen Andreas Spies, this thing has made a video there a couple of weeks ago about debugging an ESP32 using a board that you can buy from China. I thought it would be kind of cool to make a breakout board. So this one is for the ESP32 Feather. So it has all the pins connected and just has the appropriate JTAG.
You're a genius.
Great idea.
Always making most simple projects.
Yeah. I hope it has the wires connected because I've never used it yet. Maybe.
Why is it that we all make that Looney, John, and I make really overcomplicated products, and Brian makes really, no offense, Brian, like really simple things that just make your life so much easier.
Sometimes those are the best. And
I know. That's what I'm saying.
The little breakout things can be so handy.
For a fact, Brian doesn't need a pick and place machine since he only uses headers.
Exactly.
The white machine.
Yeah, it's like I like solving problems. I feel like that is where I like, that's where I get ideas from. It's like I run into a problem, or I saw. So I didn't even try that debugging yet, but like when I saw Andreas's video, I was like, wouldn't this be so cool if there was just a board and it slotted it straight in? And like I couldn't get them, but you can buy them off Adafruit. Like, is in what are the stacking headers? Like, if you had stacking headers, you could put this into like other feather breakouts as well. Once it didn't use the same pins, like it's nice and small. So yeah, I've one for the feather, and I also have one
for the TinyPico.
No, not the TinyPico.
I don't have the pins, unfortunately.
There's that's what's this one called? The Mini 32, the one that I use for.
Oops.
Yeah, the Wemos thing.
Yeah. That
oh
one.
yeah.
So
yeah,
the one that bitluni uses for his VGA. Yeah. The
cool.
other thing that I did as well was you're probably all very familiar with this at this stage, but it's a matrix breakout board, but it's for the feather 32.
Cool.
So it is
that's nice.
a feather wing, and that works. So that's cool. And the other thing that I was started doing literally just today was playing with my TinyPico and the Play Shield. I was about to hook up a button on a breadboard, and I was like, "Hey, wait a second! I have a Play Shield that has a button, so I'm not even using the screen yet, just using the button." And so yeah, one thing.
So Seon, you are solving also problems that Brian has. Like he addressed, he needed a button, and you did a shield for that.
My life. Yeah.
So so that was the main thing. So I actually, just to talk a little bit about what I was working on with that is somebody commented on my Bluetooth HID video saying like, hey, you could just use an ESP32. And I was about to go, yeah, there's an example with the IDF, but you can't do it. But he sent a link to a gist or a gist, I guess it's a gist, that was a working example of Bluetooth HID in Arduino on the ESP32. And I was like, oh, I did not know this exists. And I searched around. There's very little reference to it, but it does exist. Do you want to maybe just quickly share the screen to show that I'm not lying?
Yeah, sure. Share it.
Brian's liar.
1 second. I have to select the screen. I want yes, allow.
Okay. Is this Pornhub? No.
No, I'm more of a red. No. Yeah. So like, I actually found this out by accident here, but if you see there, I press a button. This is connected to my PC using Bluetooth, and it's pressing the screenshot button on my GeForce Experience or whatever. Also, that's last update. My PC. I'm on my new PC. This is my new PC. My new motherboard came this week, and swapped it out, and everything is working pretty much fine. So yeah, I might make a video on the Bluetooth HID next, because I haven't seen anyone talking about it, so I thought that was cool.
Last question about your shitty add-ons. Can you show us some of these? You didn't do a video on that, I think. Might be banned or demonetized.
Yes. So I have another badge here as well that I've been working on. I had hoped to get it out before DEF CON, but that's not going to happen now. So let me show you what it is. And this is my feeling towards all of you. No, it's not. Yeah.
Mean.
So as you can see, it is whatever it is. And then it has one feature on it. And that is an LED that blinks. And it's using an ATtiny or ATtiny 13.
The microcontroller for blinking LED. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And you will be selling them on the Maker Fair in Hannover, where you're going to meet me.
I will bring some with me, but I don't think.
Oh yeah,
we
we're not
can
allowed to
sell
sell.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's an
We
example
didn't
of
pay
optimization.
the expensive license, but we take donations and we
You
give
might get a
some out
present.
for free.
I can't wink with my right eye. I can barely wink with my left eye, actually. Yeah, so I have them. I have them in two different colors as well.
Cool.
There is a meaning behind the badge, which I will reveal in the video whenever I make it. But yeah, so they're my
Brian?
little. Yes.
Brian, can I just ask, why didn't you use a 555?
Because that would have needed more parts.
That's true. That is
It would have
true.
needed timing capacitors and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Look, what am I, a machine? Also, an AT Tiny 13 is like, they're like 20 cent each, if they're even 20 cent each. So the only problem is you have to program them. But I have to program them before sending them out. But yeah, no, I like them. It's so stupid. The code is like literally like 5 lines long or whatever. But yep, that's it.
Okay.
And it has a
Jon.
pink LED.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Oh, the pink LED. That looks cool. I got a random sample pack of LEDs a couple of years ago and had all sorts of bizarre colors in it, including pink and purple and a few others. And some of those odd colors look fantastic. And it's a real pity that people don't use them in more projects, but they're just not easily available.
You can buy those pink LEDs. The ones I'm using there off LCSC.
Yeah, but they probably cost like 10 times the ones.
They don't
the blue
cost
ones
10
or-
times,
Yeah.
but they are more expensive. But they're still like I think they're 8
2
cent
cents.
each or something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's much.
Maybe they're not 8 cents. I don't know. They're not expensive. Sorry,
Won't
they're not
happen.
8. They're not 8 cents. Maybe they are. I don't know. It was $2.70 for 50. So do the maths, because I can't.
That can be calculated so
5
fast.
cents each.
Got to do it in your head.
So, Jon,
Yeah.
tell us something about what you're doing.
Okay, cool. I have been doing quite a lot of boards recently, so I'll be a little bit selective. I think I got 5 new boards last week, and I did another 2 just on this weekend. So I've got a big pile. But this is a project that is quite fun because it involves some metal work as well. This is what's the best angle? It's a rack mount case, and there's a Raspberry Pi in it. There's a power over Ethernet hat that I designed. So at the moment, this is all being powered just off the network cable, as you can see. There's also a little OLED on here and some menu buttons. This is all modeled after the old Cobalt rack servers that some people might remember from many years ago. The idea is to be able to have a device you can put into a rack, plug it in, and provision it just from the front panel, so it doesn't need a monitor or keyboard or anything plugged in. And yeah, this one's been quite fun. So this is all I2C communication with the front panel. And you can run either a Raspberry Pi in here, or you could put an Arduino or something else. As long as it's got I2C, you can drive the OLED and the buttons and then have a menu. So you can do things like set the IP address by selecting the digit and then incrementing it. The metalwork was quite fun as well. So I did this in Fusion 360 using the metal environment. Fusion 360 has different workspaces depending on the type of material you want to use. And there's a metalwork environment where it's optimized for tools around doing things like folding sheets. So what I did was start off with the geometry of the front panel and then just add flanges going in the correct directions.
So you bent that yourself? You didn't buy
so I
that?
designed all the metalwork.
Oh, cool.
And
so you can't you buy something like that, like front panels for racks?
Yes, you can. And I have quite a few here. That's actually where the idea came from, because what I've done in the past is use a blanking panel. You can buy a panel that is basically just the front part, but it doesn't have this tab.
Yeah, sure.
And so what I've done in the past is I've actually CNC machined panels with a tab on it so that I could mount things. What I wanted was a blanking panel with a tab. And that gives you the flexibility of cutting whatever shapes you want in the front and then just mounting whatever you want in it. And being open, you get good airflow and things, so it ends up working pretty well.
Did you machine that yourself, did you?
No, I generated the files in Fusion 360 and created DXFs and a bend table and mechanical drawings and took it down to a laser cutting place just not far from here. And this is 1.2 millimeter steel. So they laser cut it and fold it. So it ended up costing, I think it was $300 to get 15 of them made, something like that.
300, okay.
So it worked out to be fairly expensive. It was like $20 a piece. But that was quite interesting. So
Seon will do it for 15.
Sorry?
Seon will do it for 15.
My laser cutter can't cut metal, so I won't.
He will use the Dremel.
Yeah, I've got a laser cutter as well, and I've got access to another much bigger laser cutter at a friend's place, but even that won't cut through steel like this.
Yeah, you need a plasma cutter.
Yeah. So this one's been fun. One of the designs I've just been working on is a board that will go into this that will use, I don't have any of them here, that will use 8-way RJ45 sockets, and it will have 2 in the front of it to make, it'll basically look like an Ethernet switch, except it's designed for plugging in connections to home automation light switches. And that's going to be something that I'll probably make available through Superhouse.
Cool. So Superhouse is your website shop that you...
Yeah, well, Superhouse is my YouTube channel for DIY home automation. And more recently, assistive technology sorts of projects as well. Because one of the things that's really interesting about home automation is that it's a fun thing to play with, but often it doesn't really have any purpose. And when you create home automation devices, the people that can get the most benefit from it are the people that have physical difficulty manipulating the world around them. And I have a friend with Duchenne muscular dystrophy who uses an electric wheelchair. So for the last nearly 2 years, I've been working with him on building things to help make his life a little bit easier. And so one of the other things I'm going to show today is this little device. Well, it's in a 3D printed case. It's called the Mini Open Adaptive Controller. And this is very similar to an Arduino Leonardo. It's got the same processor on it. It's the 32U4. And that was specifically chosen because it can do USB HID emulation. So it can be a keyboard or mouse or game controller or joystick. So this board has USB-C on it.
I understand.
You can plug it in and it pretends to be a keyboard. It's got an OLED on the front, and then it's got these 8 sockets on the front. They're
so
just
you can connect electrodes or sensors or whatever.
Exactly. You can plug anything you like into it.
Yeah.
So for people who have limited mobility, you can do things like, this is a 3D printed button that was designed by my friend Nick. And the idea is that this is something that's very easy to press and it doesn't need much dexterity. And in assistive technology, the standard is a standard 3.5 millimeter phono plug. So what you can do is take something like the Open Adaptive Controller and plug in a button, and then you can map the different inputs to different events. Like it could be keyboard events or it could be a game controller. And it allows people to use controls that are adapted to their physical needs, and then they can play games or use a computer. You can do things like have mouse events that are set based on these inputs, and then you could use a combination of foot controls or sip and puff or head movement or whatever. And as another example, this is another input device that's all 3D printed. Unfortunately, my lighting's not too good right here, but this is designed to sit on the edge of a wheelchair. This sits on the tray on the front, and then your hand can sit over the top. And basically, they're very low force keys that use micro switches. And there is another micro switch over here for the thumb. And then this can plug into something like the adaptive controller. And with very light finger pressure, you can then activate keys. And for people that can't use a regular keyboard, it allows them to interact with the computer in a way they couldn't before.
So that's cool for individual solutions for individual disabled.
Yeah, that's right. So the idea is that this is like a building block, which is not meant to solve the problem, but it gets you most of the way there. It takes care of the central core of the problem that does the keyboard emulation and all of those sorts of things. And all you have to do is customize the actual interface device to suit, you know, the needs of whatever the individual is.
I think that's a great use of making, because like a lot of the times you make stuff and it doesn't go anywhere, or it doesn't do anything really, like as in nobody's life is better because I made a subscriber counter, like realistically, or, you know, not substantially anyways. But like assistive technology is a really good use of it. There's actually a group in the States. I can't remember their name exactly, but it's something.
There's
like
AT Makers.
Yeah, I think that's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's such a good idea. Like a really good idea. I actually have been playing around, nothing to do with being helpful to people. It was all from myself, but I've been playing around with the idea of like what you were describing there. I actually wanted to make for myself, because like there is often times where I have a child here while I'm designing a board, and I can't move this hand, but I have this one, so I can move my mouse and I can press a key. But when I want to select multiple things, I can't press control and select something with my mouse. So I've been thinking about making a button that goes down at my feet to do like just hold down control, or like copies and pastes or whatever. I actually I bought a mouse during Amazon Prime that has programmable buttons. I don't know if it's gonna work though. Yeah, that's what I was gonna use for it. Because I have one of those too.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah, like everything, I have these. Yeah, so I was going to use that just to hold down the control button or whatever. That would solve a couple of problems for me, but it felt like such a minor problem in the end that I was like, I don't know, but I probably will make it. But yeah, that yours is a much better use of it though. Mine is just for
but you could do that very easily with just an off-the-shelf Leonardo and the button that you've already got. That's a pretty easy thing to do. The example code in the Arduino IDE will take care of it.
I'm probably going to use an ESP32 now.
Oh,
maybe.
Make it Bluetooth. And for all of us, doing this sort of thing is not particularly difficult. What I really want to do is make this sort of board available to people who don't necessarily have the skills to do PCB design or write code. And the idea is that for many people, they are capable of making something like a switch on a wire, but they're not capable of making a PCB. So what they can do is create the device that they interact with directly to suit their needs, or have someone make that. And then the more complicated bit, which is the board that does the keyboard emulation, is ready to go. And the plan is for this all to be in like a nice 3D printed case. And so it'll be more like a consumer device. And also I should mention that there is already a device called the Xbox Adaptive Controller, which is amazing. That is from Microsoft. And that's a much larger device. And that's really where this originated from. My friend Nick bought one of the adaptive controllers. He actually pre-ordered it, and it's pretty cool. It's fairly large. It's got inputs and things directly on it. The idea with this is that it's a small open source equivalent, and it gives you the flexibility to load whatever firmware you want onto it. So you could use it just as a box, plug it into USB, plug in your input devices, and you're done. Or you can hack around on the firmware in the Arduino IDE and customize it to suit yourself. Whereas the Xbox Adaptive Controller It's just it's a white box, but it's a black box, but it's white. And we really wanted to give people the opportunity to modify this if they want to.
They do use the same standard, right, in terms of the headphone jack for their buttons and things, don't they?
Yes, they do. The inputs are the same. And once you start looking into assistive technology, you see this everywhere. Pretty much everything has one of these plugs on it. It's very low tech, but it works. It's what everybody uses. Just one more of the project. I won't take long on this one. This is a board. It's a recent iteration of a board I designed a long time ago, and I've been intending to do a video about. It's got I need better lighting here in front of the camera. So those are reed relays. So it's got 6 reed relays with outputs that you can see across the top. There's a little switch mode power supply here, so you can plug in power. There's an ESP8266 module on the back. And the idea is that you can run firmware like Tasmoda on this, and it basically pretends to be something like a Sonoff, except that instead of switching mains, it's got 6 switched outputs. And then that can be used for things like hacking remote controls. If you've got an appliance remote control, you can open it up, something like a garage door remote, and you can wire these outputs across the buttons on the remote control and then trigger it over Wi-Fi. And the reason that the board is this weird shape, I'll get it on a white background so you can see it, is that it fits inside a plastic project box, and then the remote control can fit inside the box as well. So the whole thing ends up being a very neat little package. And it allows you to take an appliance that's not really designed for remote control and hack it so that you can then link it into your home automation system, which is cool for general DIY home automation projects, but it's also really useful for assistive technology projects. Like if one classic one, a thing that my friend Chris was wanting to do just recently is take control of a space heater. You know, one of those little cheap things you can get down at the local white box store, heater you plug in and you've got a remote control to turn it on and off. He wanted to be able to control that from his wheelchair. So one thing we did was hack the remote control so that it was linked into OpenHAB, and then he could control the heating from his wheelchair controls. So boards like that are really useful little building blocks for that.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay, John.
What do we do for now?
I have a few questions for you. Since you are new to the MakerCast crew, I'd say I saw that you have a Wikipedia entry.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
I'm not sure. That was many years ago. I think probably when Wikipedia wasn't as significant as it is now.
So that's cool. Not even I don't have a Wikipedia entry, and
We'll make one for you.
Oh, I'm curious what you will write there. And I also read that you are a cyborg. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, well, in a very, very trivial way.
It's a beginning.
I have an RFID chip implanted in my left arm, and these days so many people have had it done that it doesn't really seem significant. I think mine was done 12 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that.
It was newsworthy back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think I was probably around, I was the first person in Australia to do it. I think probably about the 4th person in the world to do it. Yeah, implanting with something like that.
Oh.
So
that was for the chat. Sorry.
I've done a video about it in the past. I use it for access control. So the door of my lab has an RFID reader on it,
Okay.
and I can just walk up to the door and wave my arm, and the door unlocks.
And is it a secure RFID or can you just clone it?
It's totally insecure.
So one of the first versions where you can just get close to you and read with your. Oh.
It's actually a tag that's intended for pet identification. It's the
Okay.
Nice.
so
So
if I
if
go
I
down,
need to find,
they can scan me and see who I
yeah,
belong
if you
to.
get lost, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Are you using it on a daily basis?
Yeah, it works fine. So even after, I'd have to look up the date, but even after 12-ish years, it still works just fine.
Cool. So no issues there.
No.
You didn't have to replace it or something.
No. One thing that a lot of people ask is, how long does the battery last? But with RFID tags, well, passive RFID at least, there is no battery. It uses energy harvesting. It's actually really interesting technology from that point of view. If you look into how passive RFID works, it's quite cool. It harvests energy from the electromagnetic field generated by the reader, and then it modulates the field so the reader can detect the fact that its own field is being modulated. So you can have electronics with no power supply of its own, but it can actively interact with the remote device, which is really cool.
Can I ask a question, John?
Sure.
How or who did you get to put it in? Like, if you were the first person in Australia, it wasn't like someone was offering it as a service, right? Was it your doctor or?
Right. So there's an interesting story around that. I won't go into it in too much detail, but one of the reasons that I did this was to find out what the process was, because it was just after Amal Grafstra had done it in the US, and a whole lot of people were saying that he's the Antichrist and, like Mark of the Beast, these sorts of things. And there were a lot of people also saying that this is a sign that there is going to be mandatory RFID implants and the entire population is going to be tracked and all of this sort of rubbish. So I wanted to find out how difficult it would be to get an RFID tag implanted if I went through the correct channels. So if I went to a doctor and that sort of thing. And I ended up going to 3 different doctors, and
you bribed the vet,
would do it,
didn't you? You bribed the vet.
No, I actually went to doctors, including a hand surgeon, because my original idea was that I wanted to implant it in my hand, just in this area here, which is the place that Amal had his first implant done. It's a fairly common place because if you have it in your hand in the webbing, just in here, it means you can do things like put a reader inside a door lock. So you just grab the door handle and the door unlocks. It's actually really convenient, but it's not good in terms of crush injuries. So if your hand gets, bashed in a car door or something, there's a potential for damage to it, which can then cause you internal injuries. Yeah. And so I originally went to see a hand surgeon, and he was actually really excited about it. And he thought, this is a really cool thing to try. And the procedure was scheduled. After I talked to him, we decided that it was better not to put it in the hand. He wanted to put it in my forearm because there are less small structures and things that could cause damage, that could be damaged. And on the morning that I was actually due to go to his surgery to have it done, he phoned me and said, I'm really sorry, I can't do it, because I called my medical insurer to make sure that this would be covered under my policy, and they laughed at me. So I basically exhausted all the possible avenues of having someone legitimately do the implantation. And I knew that I could go to someone like a tattoo parlor, because there are a lot of places that do implant, not electronic implants, but just body piercings and things. And they're all set up to do sterile procedures. But in the end, I did it myself. So I had to shave back my arm and disinfect everything. And basically I taped up my arm to pinch the skin in the right place and then did the implantation myself. But the really interesting thing is that I discovered that I had this really strong psychological barrier against doing it, because I could, it actually really made me think about issues around self-harm, because there are so many people who do things like cut themselves for various reasons. And what I found is that I had the implantation tool against my skin and I couldn't bring myself to do it. It was like I was trying to push, and it was like I had this mental block and my brain just would not let me break the skin and, shove the tool in. And I had to mentally dissociate myself and just think of, like, my arm is there and I'm breathing to it, but it's not mine.
Gross.
It was a really weird mental experience.
So, what
don't recommend
what did you do to sedate yourself?
Oh, I didn't do anything.
What?
No.
Was it painful?
It actually wasn't as painful as I expected it would be. I thought it was going to be the worst pain that I'd ever felt. And because it was less than that, then it seemed okay in comparison. So I
set your
I
expectations.
prepared myself for something really terrible, and it wasn't that bad.
This is crazy.
The Tinker Dad pointed out that Jon actually has a video on this on his channel, so I've posted a link to it in the chat there.
Cool.
Jon had hair. That was the first thing I'll take from that video, according to the thumbnail.
Okay.
Anyways.
It's starting to grow
I have
back.
to watch it later.
I haven't shaved my head for about 2 days now, so it's coming back.
Nice.
I gotta ask though, right? So for those people that have, except for me, I've only got, I don't know what it is, one piercing. But most people who get piercings, once they do one, they get this urge to do more. So how many places have you implanted RFIDs on your body now, Jon?
Well, so far only one. And this is a really interesting question, because the problem is it's with something like a passive piercing, you're doing it for aesthetic reasons or whatever. The functionality of that doesn't change. And the functionality of this chip hasn't changed, but technology has moved on. And so we're used to this upgrade cycle where we get a new mobile phone every few, like 2 or 3 years or whatever it is. And technology totally changes in that time. I've now had this implant for 12 years. So if I wanted to replace it, like to actually take it out, it would require a surgeon with a scalpel. And you don't want to have to do that every time you do a technology upgrade. So I do certainly know quite a few people who have multiple RFID implants. Like they'll have an implant. And the other thing is that you don't want them too close together, because you can get interference problems if you've got tags operating at similar frequencies. So you need, if you have 2 tags that both respond to the same reader, then you need a reader that's capable of multi-tag discrimination. So if, for example, I put a tag into a prime spot, like in my hand, and then a few years later, new technology comes along, or the crypto has been broken on that particular technology, and I want to replace it, then what do? You put one in the other hand, or you run out of places eventually. And
you have to implant an ESP32 and do over-the-air updates.
Yes, OTA, my buddy.
I don't think you're thinking using your imagination enough. Like there's plenty of places you can stick RF in your body and never run out of places, right?
That's true.
And what's missing? Implants with RGB LEDs. So you need like an individual addressable LEDs underneath your skin, maybe the skull or something.
Yeah, some kind of display. There are some people who have done some really crazy things. A few years ago, there was someone who implanted an entire Arduino under the skin in their arm. And it looks ridiculous.
Arduino Mega.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a Mega, but it wasn't particularly small. And it looked ridiculous. Like the skin bulged up, and you could see the shape of the PCB under their arm with parts on it.
They embedded fiberglass inside their arm.
I think it was just a publicity stunt.
I almost implanted an Arduino Nano recently in my foot. I just stepped on it. It was upside down, and I had like 6 pins completely in my foot, like 1 centimeter. That was really painful. The foot was numb for a few days.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's going to be a 10 shot.
We've probably lost half our viewers because of me talking about this.
No, that was really quite interesting. Okay.
Wait. Hold on. So Andy Calloway just messaged something totally off topic, but I think it's pretty cool. He just mentioned how it's fun watching Brian's windows going dark while mine's going light because of the time zone.
Yes.
And right now they're almost identical. They're identical colors right now. So Brian and I are both in the same place. Hi, Brian.
Fun
The times
Go
Thank
in
fact.
the closet.
Fun fact: the center of mass between all the participants of this MakerCast is in the center of the planet, in the molten core. Since we have 2 Aussies and 2 Europeans.
The
Europeans.
molten core.
In the molten core.
Molten core, or is it solid? No, it's molten. It's nickel.
Molten.
No. Is it solid?
Who
It's
knows?
molten.
No one's ever been there. So how do you really know?
It's water and it's full of giant
I saw
fish.
the movie The Core. It was like huge diamonds, and I wanted
That's actually
to
really
go
good
there
film.
and take them with me. Okay,
You know what's
guys.
actually the center of the planet? The center of the planet is it's Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
Delicious.
So that brings us to my quiz that I prepared. So there is a certain topic. You will discover this quite soon. And about planets. The first biggest planet in our solar system is Jupiter. Which one is the second biggest?
Do we buzz? Do I go?
The first one. No, the first one who asked us. Sorry?
Okay, Saturn.
Saturn? Yeah, that's right. So 1 point for you.
That's the
John.
only point I'm going to
John's
get.
gonna have all the points today.
Sorry?
John's gonna have all the points today.
Okay, and since we are in space right now, we have the first satellite, which was called Sputnik.
Yes.
How was the second called?
Ooh. Sputnik 2?
Yeah, that's correct. Second Sputnik.
Why did it take so long to work that out?
So the theme is the first losers. So the second persons and so on. So we had the moon landing. Was it 50 years ago? Oh,
It was fake.
Yeah.
It was fake, Bitluni.
It was fake. Yeah, I thought so for quite some time because the flag was moving and so on. Okay, but then the first man on the moon was Neil Armstrong. Which was the second?
Buzz, Aldrin.
Yeah.
You are so fast, John. Okay, that's correct.
It's the time zone. I'm ahead of everybody else.
Okay, Brian is sleeping and Seon is not awake yet. So
I'm abstaining.
Why?
I don't want to say how stupid I am.
No.
What was the
you
name
know
of the guy
that.
left on the ship?
Sorry?
Michael
Oh
Collins.
yeah, I don't know.
What was
And
the
then-
name?
It was Michael Collins.
Michael
Yeah,
Collins.
that could be, yeah. Okay, so we had first man in space was Yuri Gagarin. The second one.
Ooh. Yeah, the American guy.
Yeah, American guy is correct. And what's the name?
I don't know.
I don't blank.
I
It's the
appreciate
second
it.
man in space.
I wouldn't have even been able to tell you the first man in space.
Really?
Nope.
Okay.
What about the first dog in space?
We need to
Sorry,
have
what?
a Aaron's night celebration sometime. Sorry, Seon?
The first dog in space.
Like
Rover Lassie.
Yeah, and you know the second animal in space? That's
It was
another
a
question.
monkey.
Yeah, it was a monkey. But let's answer the second the question
yeah.
about the first man in space. Any try there?
John Glenn.
And it was the first orbit, I think.
It's got to be. It's either John Glenn or Gus Grissom because there's all over the chat.
Fine, that's a minus point for you. It's not either of these.
Oh,
Yeah,
Chat.
it's
What the hell?
yeah. Just look in the chat.
I am looking in the chat.
John Glenn.
There
Alan
it is.
Shepard.
Alan
Alan
Shepard is
Shepard.
correct. Was that this?
Andy Calloway got it.
Yeah, but who
John
said this
Glenn.
first?
What?
Seon, was it you just reading off Alan Shepard?
John Glenn. Yeah,
That was-
I just said John Glenn.
No, it was John.
No, it was
It was
Alan
Alan Shepard,
Shepard.
but it was Andy Calloway on the chat who said it.
So Andy Calloway gets the point.
Yes.
Andy, it's your
Like 20
point.
names on here. Oh,
Sorry?
it was Electron Ash. Electron Ash. He was the
Was it?
second man in space. I'm just reading names from the chat. I don't know.
Okay, then we have the first woman in space. So that we had that last time, I think, on Blitz City's
I
maker
didn't
card.
study for this.
Yeah. And we still didn't learn.
I even bought that book by accident that she recommended to me. Yeah, I had it like in my basket and on eBay, but I thought I would like a more general book than this one, and I didn't buy it yet. But then next time I was ordering something, I just ordered it because it was still in the basket, and now I have it as well. It's this book, Rocket Girls, it's called. So the first woman in space was Valentina Tereshkova, and the second one was. Come on, guys, you know it. Second
I
woman
don't
in
know
space.
it. I didn't know the first person. And it's not a gender equality thing. I don't know anything.
It's
Oh,
embarrassing.
God.
I should know.
Okay, the second one was Svetlana Savitskaya. Svetlana Savitskaya. I can read my own writing here. Svetlana
course.
Savitskaya, second woman in space.
You said, you know this. I definitely did not know that.
Oh, that's a blast. That's the second person to do something. Okay, we
You're
had
not first, you're
already.
last.
Okay, another space question. We had the
space
first animal in space was Laika. We had it already. But what was the name of the second animal in space? Someone said it was a monkey. That is correct already. But what's the
Bubbles.
name? No.
Bubbles. He later
That's-
became Michael Jackson's monkey.
No, that's second minus
Brian,
point.
too soon.
Brian,
Too soon.
2 minus points.
Was it? Okay.
Okay, I will reveal this right now. It's Gordo, since you know nothing.
We know nothing.
It's Gordo. It was a squirrel monkey.
And they're still waiting for him, are they?
Named
When-
after Godolph.
Sorry?
Yeah. Named after Godolph.
No,
Yeah.
it's Gordo.
God of War.
Ah, okay.
Kratos was his name.
So maybe a question: when did how many orbits did Laika until she returned to the Earth? Or
Trick question.
2.
That's not fair at all.
He never returned.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
true. Yeah, Laika wasn't intended to return, and she died in space. But the monkey Gordo was supposed to come back to Earth. And the sad thing about it, the parachute failed, and Gordo died as well. So, sad story about the animals in space. Oh, that's a downer, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What a way to end the quiz. Jeez.
Oh, we need a minute of silence.
And with that, that's the end of the MakerCast.
No, it's not yet. I
Yeah,
have
but that's a wiki.
two more questions. Okay.
Okay.
Because until now we have like Andy has 1 point, John has 3 points, Brian has -2 points, and Unexpected Maker has 0 points so far. You owned Brian totally. Okay, we had about animals, and now what was the name? Let's start with a simple question. What was the name of the first cloned mammal?
Daisy.
Dolly, the sheep.
Dolly.
Dolly.
Yep.
Yeah, it was
Dolly.
Unexpected Maker.
Negative
Was
1
it?
for me.
No, who was first?
Was it
I got
Dolly?
it wrong. I said Daisy, but it was Dolly. Brian said
Dolly.
Dolly.
Dolly was right, but
Okay,
who
Brian.
that was me.
Brian.
And then it's Brian. Okay, Brian, you have now -1 point. Okay,
I love sheep.
now that was difficult to to find. What was the name of the second mammal?
Only two.
It wasn't only 2. Unexpected maker, that's a minus point for you. It's now even between you and Brian.
You should get bonus points for funny answers, though.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay. Only 2, but that's not
Wait,
funny
hang on,
because
it's a
Was it a
clone.
pig?
That's going to be Dolly because
yeah,
it's
it
a
was
clone.
a pig. It was a pig. How did you find out that so quickly?
No,
But
I
what's
just
the name?
remembered. No, I didn't Google anything. I just remembered it was a pig.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's. I'd say that's a quarter
Obviously,
point.
I know a lot. I know a lot more about cloning than space
Called-
travel.
Bacon? Was it called bacon?
No, it wasn't bacon, Seon. It wasn't bacon. It's a funny answer that you get a quarter of a point. So
How about babe? Was it babe?
it's not babe.
Pig in the
It's
city.
Millie. It was like 6 pigs, and one of at least the first that that was listed where I read it was Millie the pig.
Millie the
The
pig.
pig.
That's so not a pig
So,
name.
it's important
That
fact.
doesn't sound
You just
anything like a
forgot.
pig.
You just forgot memories from your childhood to memorize Millie the pig.
Okay.
Okay, so last question. There's nothing about animals. It's about the depths of the ocean. And we are in the Mariana Trench. The Challenger Deep was... there were people going with a submarine to the bottom of the ocean. The first ones have been Jacques Picard and Don Walsh. What was the second person to go there, or the second submarine? Who was riding the second submarine to go to the bottom?
I'm pretty sure it was the Octonauts because my kids watch the Octonauts go to Mariana Trench all the time.
I think the submarine was called the Trieste.
The Trieste was the first submarine.
Oh, that was the first. Okay.
Seon, what was that? Was it the name of the submarine, or what is
No, it's a kids' TV
It's a
show.
cartoon.
Okay.
It's a kid's cartoon. Take away my points.
Another funny answer. Then we count it as a quarter of a point, so minus a half for you now.
Oh my god.
Finding
Okay.
Nemo.
Wasn't it someone totally unexpected, like the film director? Who was it that directed
Cameron.
Spielberg?
Yeah,
It's
it's
Cameron.
James Cameron,
No,
but
Cameron.
Yeah, I don't
Brian,
think he was
Titanic.
thinking about
it
was
was
he?
Cameron, but Brian read it off the chat, didn't you, Brian? No?
No.
Oh, was it?
Did you know
Don't
that?
give me the points, though. I knew he went down. Yeah. I knew he
Yeah,
went
but
down.
it was actually Cameron. It was the second.
It was. Okay.
Yeah, so the second manned submarine to go to the bottom of the ocean. So it was actually James Cameron. So Brian, you get a point.
Boom.
Oh.
So Brian, you are at 1/4 points.
Andy Calloway said
Oh.
it was Felix Baumgartner after his parachute didn't open.
That's an extra point.
Good job, Andy. You
Okay, the
beat
winner
me.
is John. John, you have 3 points. You played
Andy
well.
has 2.
Andy has 1,
2.
2.
I don't know. He's 1.25.
Brian has 3 points. No, no. You have.
Ouch.
You get a quarter point for being funny, bitluni.
Thanks. So I get a 1/4 point. Brian has 1/4 point. Unexpected maker minus a half a point. So sorry, Seon, you lost this time. So that was the quiz. Oh, that took longer than I expected. It was like only 5 questions, but nobody knows the second person or second whatever. So you always have to be first.
That's actually quite true, isn't it? Bit sad.
It's like that thing from Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last.
Yeah.
Nobody knows Talladega Nights now.
The second is the first loser, isn't it?
But we try to teach our kids that it doesn't matter. Like, it's not about winning. It's not about coming first. It's about enjoying and
It's about
participating.
crushing your opposition.
Yeah, but bitluni just proved that wrong. So I hope my kids aren't watching because years of hard work of instilling, gone out the window. in 30
Okay.
seconds.
Any announcements, Brian?
I think I might retire from YouTube. That might be a fun announcement, or at least that's how I feel at the moment. No major announcements. I have loads of stuff to make up on Tindy and get listed. We are going to Maker Faire.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay, you could have just said that. We're going to Maker. Or me, bitluni, Dave Darko, Alex, Tiny LED Matrix Alex, and Clem from Element 14 Presents is where you
Meyer
mainly
Makes.
see him.
Yeah.
Meyer Makes are going to Hanover Maker Faire. Did I miss anyone? I don't think so.
No, we are having a booth, so we are
Yes.
the official people, and I'm just asking around other people if they come visit us. So other makers as well from YouTube are welcome to join us or visit us at least to hang around with us in Hanover on Saturday the 17th of August. So in 2 weeks from now, almost two. So
And a Sunday.
Sorry?
That would be fun.
It's Sunday as well. It's Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday, yeah, it is. So we will be there. Any other announcements? Something important for the next month to not miss? John, Seon, not?
I've got I was going to say, I finally got my act together. My new 7-segment displays that I designed. I have been slowly building up a stockpile of them, and I'm going to launch them on Tindy hopefully this week. And now that everyone's got, thank you very much, Peter, Jacob. I can't pronounce your surname. You just got a super chat. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And now that everyone's got all the backers have got their TinyPicos, I'm now able to launch my own store. So I'll be launching TinyPico on Tindy and on my tinypico.com website. It's ready to go, except I've got no stock. So there's no point launching it and not having anything to sell. But I'm getting close. I'm building stock. So I'll be launching some stuff on Tindy. Sorry?
Do we get coupon codes?
Maybe. Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
When my dad used to say maybe to me, it was always no. So just throwing that out there. Seon is in full dad mode there.
I'm got something planned.
I'm saying no.
Maybe
no,
for your
patrons. Something planned for my patrons. And so you'll get one, bitluni. But yes.
Really? Yeah, I am one. Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Sure. And so that's all for today, I think. We filled over an hour. And please check out the links. Maybe I will use a banner here.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, fancy.
That's fancy. Oh, I forgot about this one here.
Yeah. Were you able to pin any, bring up any chats as well? I
can highlight chats here.
Yeah. So the reason why we're doing this, good job, Peter. The reason why we're using this thing is because the 1st of August, Hangouts on Air went away, so they're gone now.
Yeah,
but this is good. This software's been great.
Yeah, this is good, but to not have the logo of how is it called, StreamYard displayed here, I had to pay with the referral $15 for this month. And if you want to use my referral link, it's down in the description. You get $10 off if you want to use this for streaming your stuff, but it's also free. You can just sign up. It's the tool is free. You will just get a watermark there.
All of us did not care about the watermark other than bitluni. We were like, the free version just has this little duck thing.
Channel. Yeah, I'm almost at 100 videos, and the first 100 have to be quality content, and after that I can spam. So Yeah, but the first videos, don't watch them. So they were really bad. Nevertheless, we have also all the links from the people here around, these people here, in the description. You can support them on Patreon or follow on social media. And yeah, I hope to see you everyone in 1 month from now. So the first Sunday of the month is MakerCast. We don't know on which channel yet, so that's switching every time.
John,
Me.
John,
you're going to host next month?
Oh, that means I've got to do work and come up with a quiz.
no, you don't.
You
You can just make up some.
David started that. You don't have to do a quiz.
No, it's not mandatory. We can just chat around and fool around. Okay, so we will announce that on social media where the next MakerCast will be, and we hope to see you next time. And see you next time. Bye.
Thanks for coming along.
Thanks.
Bye.
We are offline.
No, we're not. Do you know the Simpsons line? That ought to hold those SOBs.